Welcome to day 18 of the course in Mastery. Today, Tom Wood is going to discuss your emotional intelligence, which is measured by your EQ or emotional quotient. Very different from the IQ we are familiar with. It is your ability to identify your emotions and the emotions of others and solve problems involving emotional issues. Then we'll watch a clip from Dave Carey, who was a POW in the Vietnam War. Here's Tom.
Thanks, Coral. Welcome back. I'd like to ask you a provocative question. What is more important to your success and happiness in life? Your intelligence or your emotional control? Which of you studied more and spent more time developing since the first grade? Emotions are at the very core of our decision-making process. And because of that, they are the foundation of our success in life. Emotional mastery is self-mastery. To be sure, emotional mastery does not mean no emotions. Instead, it means all emotions mastered. Aristotle wrote in the Nicomachean Ethics, anyone can become angry. That is easy. But to become angry with the right person to the right degree, in the right place, at the right time, for the right reason, that is not easy. Happiness can come from a feeling of control of our emotions. It means emotional control at work, or an athlete while performing, or in a relationship. Zen monks get in the zone when they chant. Elite athletes get in the zone when they're working out. Musicians get in the zone when they get to that peak place. That peak place is total emotional control, and you can get there. One place where people have trouble managing their emotions is with money. Wealth is simply a formula. Buy low, sell high. It's very difficult to hold on to your blue chip stock when it's dropped 10% and you see a penny stock rising 200%. That strategy is called buy low, sell stupid. There's no secret answer on how to control your emotions. Our society is filled with cliches on how to do it. Look on the bright side. Cheer up. Be the ball. Let it go. Get in the zone. All of these have some element of truth to it, but the one I've found that works the most is 20 years of therapy. I'm just kidding. That doesn't work. In fact, what works is when you focus on this one task. Without thinking about it, without being conscious of it, it's hard to control your emotions. You've got to study this. You've got to do it. Remember, this is an interactive course. I want you to do this today. Here's something that I've learned works for me. Just try it. It may work, it may not. But if you try and you continue to try, you'll find something that works for you. For me, I have success in managing my emotions by doing two things. One, recognizing that I have this emotion. Sometimes that's the hardest part, to becoming aware that you're being controlled by your emotions. And then number two, I just simply ask myself a question. Tom, when are you going to let go of this emotion? Now that question is powerful because number one, it assumes that I can let it go. And then number two, it's just asking for that one thing. When will you let it go? And of course, the answer for me is always, I guess I'll let it go now. You can let go of the emotion. You just have to decide when. Now is the best time. Now this works for me in just about every emotion. Anger, jealousy, even hunger. I ask myself, when are you going to let go of this emotion of hunger? And sometimes just for a second, I let it go and I forget I'm hungry. And then of course the hunger comes back. But the more I do it, the better I get, and the longer I can go without letting the emotion control me. Yes, hunger, jealousy, anger, these sometimes are emotions you want to have. But having the mastery of them, allowing yourself to control them, like Aristotle described, that will create incredible happiness and success for you in your life.
During his 5.5 years as a prisoner of war in Vietnam, Dave Carey was forced to master his emotions in order to survive and maintain his sanity. In this next clip, he recounts a portion of his fascinating story and begins to tell how he and his fellow POWs made it through. Here's Dave.
See? They chopped it away till it ended up being me, my undershorts, and my miles and miles of rope, and that started for me what would turn out to be a little longer than 5.5 years in prison in North Vietnam. The question I'm most frequently asked about that is this: how did you do that? How were you able to do that? How could you do that? And that's the question I'd like to talk with you about for just a few minutes this morning. How do we do that? Actually, I'd like for you to think about that question for a minute. How did we do that? Here, I'll set the scene for you. I was kept locked up for years in cells that were never quite big enough for the number of people who were in them. On average, I lived with about 6 or 7 other men. I've been by myself for a few months. I lived with a group of 20 men one time for a year and a half. But on average, there'd be 6 or 7 of us in one of these cells. And a lot of them were cells, too. A lot of them were the kind of things you see in a movie where they have 14-foot-high walls, little air slits up at the top, big, heavy door with a little spy door on it. A lot of them were in dungeon-like prisons that the French had built in the early 1900s. We were interrogated on occasion, beaten on very, very rare occasion, tortured on very, very, very rare occasion. I weigh about 200 pounds now. At the time, I got down to probably 125 pounds or so. But once I got down there, the diet would sustain that. We were not allowed to see or have any contact with any Americans outside of our own cell. They wanted us to be isolated, cut off, cell by cell by cell. They believed in divide and conquer. And that's the way they were trying to run this place.